Hello, sports fan. This is Stephen Hill coming to you for Sports Choice Plus, and I'm bringing you a very special breakdown of the top 10 players of all time NBA-wise. I'm going to bring it to you, but before we get right into that, I want to make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so we can share this video and share with you each and every time we got those updates on the video blog. Getting right into the top 10 NBA list, you're looking at Mr. Oscar Robertson at number 10. What he did with the Milwaukee Bucks was nothing short of phenomenal. Averaging a triple-double, helping young Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor at that time, do so many different great things to help him develop a confidence and do so many amazing things, not only with that city. He's a legend in the city of Milwaukee. You go back and you see him at some of the Bucks games on television, and he's revered as one of the greatest players of all time. What he did as far as averaging a triple-double was special, unique. He played both ends of the floor, defense, offense, rebounding, shooting, blocking shots, getting assists. He did a little bit of everything for those Milwaukee teams. And he was a model citizen as far as how he carried himself in the NBA as well. Coming to number 9, you're looking at Mr. Shaquille O'Neal. What he did with Kobe Bryant was nothing short of special. Coming into the NBA with Penny Hardaway, and then he eventually went to Kobe, and then eventually he went to D-Wade with Miami. He won a championship there as well. You're looking at what the Big Diesel did. They basically had to put a measure in place to stop Shaq. Basically, foul every time he got the ball to make him shoot free throws. That was his only weakness. But if you look at his whole entire career, basically Shaq did what he wanted to do. When he got in those NBA finals, he was an absolute monster. He was the reason that NBA basically created that Shaq Attack rule, and just what he did overall in the lifespan of his career. 15 plus years of dominance, brilliance. You look at the young Shaq in Orlando when he came in the league, tearing down rims and goals and breaking backboards. The sheer level of dominance. Shaq was truly a top 10 player of all time. You look at his dominance at the center position. The NBA had never seen anything like that. I know they saw Wilt Chamberlain, but it was a different type of physicality with Shaquille O'Neal. His physical imposement of his will on other players was none that we've seen other than that. But a hell of a career for Shaq. And you look at him winning those titles, and you look at the way he did it. He got 4 in total, and you look at the MVPs that he got when he played with the Lakers. Just a big part of that reason he's in the top 10. Coming at number 8. Looking at Mr. Tim Duncan. He went about his business with no fanfare. He went about his business with no extraness. He just came in, clocked in, did his job, did what Greg Popovich wanted him to do. So many different players on his team were great, like a Tony Parker, a David Robinson, a Mario Elie. You look at Ginobili. He had so many different guys on his team, but he carried his own weight. He was a leader. He was a model of consistency during the NBA Finals. You look at how many times he went to the finals and how many rings he has. It was just a decorated career that he had, and he's possibly one of the best power forwards of all time to do it. I know that he's, you know, right up there. It's debatable between him and Karl Malone as one of the best power forwards of all time. And, you know, you throw Bill Russell in there. So it's a couple of great players, but Tim Duncan is definitely top 10 on this list. And just seeing what he's done at number 8, he fits right in. Coming in right there at number 7, Mr. Bill Russell, Mr. Ambassador for the Celtics, Mr. Should be the legend, literally of all Celtics. You're looking at what he did with all those teams, 11 NBA championships, and just seeing everything that he did for the sport and how he was able to play the game of basketball defensively. He was a monster. On the boards, he went up and got everything. He did get 5 MVPs out of those 11 titles, but you got to consider a couple of those years, they did not let African-Americans win a lot of those awards. So you're looking at just if they're able to let him win awards sooner, he could have had a lot more awards on his trophy mantle. You look at those teams and what he did with Coach Red Auerbach and how he was able to make the Celtics a dynasty. Without them, I don't think they would have had nearly as half those many championships as they had. And you look at just what just look at the NBA Final Award. And the name was Bill Russell as far as that award goes. And you're just seeing how NBA players today respect him. They call him Mr. Russell, and seeing what he was able to do on both ends of the floor. He wasn't as offensively polished, but on the defensive end, he brought his lunch pail every single day and gave Wilt Chamberlain hell. He gave all those teams back then hell. And he made it difficult for teams to even get layups. Back then, remember, they didn't shoot threes back then. So basically, when you had to come inside, you had to deal with Mr. Russell. He made life hard for a lot of different people. Coming in at number 6, you're looking at Mr. Jerry West, Mr. Laker. And you look at just what he did overall through his failures on that NBA basketball court. Him and Elgin Baylor were 2 of the top players of those time, but Jerry West is the logo of the NBA. You look at just how special he was from one end of the court to the next. He revolutionized the game and made it to where it was basically fundamentally sound so many different ways. He could shoot the ball well. He could play defense well. In transition, he was a layup. Every time he got the ball, it seemed like he was scoring. So Jerry West was possibly the greatest Laker of all time. You look at how many years he played for them, even his work as an architect off the court. You have to give him a little credit for what he did with the Golden State Warriors and how he put those Lakers teams together, and even what he's doing right now with Kawhi and Paul George out there in LA now. He's done so many different things on the court, off the court. So I think he's fitting at number 6 on this list. So I think he's a hell of a talent. And the guy doesn't get enough credit for losing all those NBA finals and still getting right back up and still trying to put the Lakers on the map. Looking at number 5 on this list, you got the legend, Mr. Larry Bird. Behind Bill Russell, probably the greatest Celtic of all time behind Bill Russell. You look at what those Celtics team were. When Larry came into the league, the Celtics were struggling at a certain point. They got Larry Legend, and he took off. You look at how great Robert Parrish was and just how Kevin McHale was, and you look at all those guys that they had on those Celtics teams. Larry came in there and gave them a confidence. It was so many players that he talked trash to. And you tell them, look, I'm finna shoot this three in your face. We're finna go ahead and walk off the court and go get some beer. Larry would go do it. He would talk the talk and walk the walk. When you look at adversaries against Magic Johnson, that was probably one of the greatest rivalries of all time. He helped bring back NCAA basketball when he was at Indiana State. You look at what he did when he got to the Celtics and that 80s rivalry between Celtics and Lakers and what he brought to the court every single week. It's hard to compare. 3 titles, 3 MVPs. Larry deserves it. 3-point champion. Nothing Larry couldn't do. Defensively, the way he rebounded the ball. Offensively, the way he rebounded the ball. One of the greatest small forwards of all time. And you see what he did on and off the basketball court. Larry Bird was a hell of a player back in the day. So I think fittingly, top 5. And you know, he's coming in right there at number 5. And I think that's where it gets interesting, because you got so many different honorable mentions of players that could have gone on this list. That's why the top 5 is even more intriguing. So I'm coming at number 4. We have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Some know him as Lou Alcindor. What he did in Milwaukee and what he also did in Los Angeles with the Lakers is so incredible. His sky hook, it comes almost unmatched, almost the most dominant move in NBA history. You look at what he was able to do with and without Magic Johnson and how he was able to supplant himself, lead the league in scoring all time for the most points in the NBA history. It's just so many different things. As a center, he could use left hand. He could use right hand. He can do the little hook shot, the baby sky hook. He had so many different moves in his arsenal that nobody could really stop him. But when he was in his heyday at UCLA and that record he had with John Wooden, and you look at how he was able to polish his game from one of the best teachers in the game, that's what made him a hell of a player. And you look at Kareem off the court and what he's established and brought to the game of basketball. It's just so many different things. But Kareem was definitely the 4th best player in NBA history. You had a couple of guys that have come and gone that have threatened that point title, but no, Kareem, for all intents and purposes, is the 4th best player. Center-wise, probably the best center of all time, but when you're talking NBA greats, the greatest of all time, it comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, Mr. Magic Johnson. You look at that big smile. When he came into the NBA, he revitalized Lakers franchise. He put the Showtime Lakers on a different level. You know, him and James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, AC Green. They had so many different players. Byron Scott. He elevated that team and gave that team life for 5 to 7 more years after Kareem left. And you look at just how dominant he was. When he announced that he had HIV, he went away from the game and he still came back. That All-Star game, those kind of moments he came back and he absolutely took over the All-Star game. Those are the kind of things that make Magic great. And you look at just his entrepreneurship off the court, but most importantly on the court, he took care of business. He did so many different things at every single level. He didn't know how to shoot when he came to the NBA. He learned how to shoot, which opened up the floor for the running gun. When he's running down the court, he may throw it behind his back, throw it off the shoulder, do something a little crazy. But Magic Johnson was one of the best point guards of all time. Big point guard. You're talking 6'9", was able to have the court vision. He could see over the opposing point guard and set up great passes, set up Kareem for great shots. So it was just a crazy. But Magic Johnson, 5 titles, 3 MVPs. He's very much top 3 of all time. And I think that, you know, with the top 2 guys we got coming up next, you already know what it's about. Number 2, for so many years, we've heard about this guy in Chicago. We've heard about this guy's dominance and brilliance. And Michael Jordan, deservingly so, he comes in at this list, number 2. And I think that what he's done has been incredible for the game of basketball. You look at just overall 6 titles, 6 MVPs. You look at 5 regular season MVPs. The guy was a Skywalker. You look at what he did in with Scottie Pippen and those Bulls teams, what he did as a Wizard, how he came back and reinvented himself there. It's incredible. Michael Jordan was definitely top 2 of all time. And you look at just how great he was and how he made his team better. And he had a whole bunch of dynasties. So I look at that. Number 1, LeBron James. When you're looking at what he did on and off the court, he was able to not only bring his game every single game, but he was able to make his team better and those things. So I look at beating different Hall of Fame teams, beating different standards. When you look at, he beat Oklahoma City, which had Kevin Durant, Harden, Ibaka, Russell Westbrook. When you look at the team he beat with Golden State, how he beat Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and he beat the Spurs. The Spurs had 3 Hall of Famers as well. When you look at Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, so many different players on those teams, he beat so many different matchups. And when it comes down to it, he was just great overall as a basketball player. And this is my top 10 list. Feel free to break down. Feel free to have your difference of opinion. Tell me your top 10 list. I want to hear what you guys consider your top 10 list of all time so we can debate with this. And I think it's going to be exciting. I want to see all the lists. And feel free, share the video in your YouTube chat groups, share it on your Facebook groups. And remember, we got content coming up while the coronavirus is going crazy in America and all over the country. We want to make sure we're giving you some good content. So feel free to share this, and we'll see you next week.